Okay. Morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 16th, 2025 meeting of the SUNY Cobleskill College Council. This meeting is being live streaming under New York State Open Meeting Law. And I'd like to start by approving the minutes of February 19th, 2025 meeting that were in your packet. Questions, comments, discussion, motion to accept?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as they are.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay. And second, any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
And one abstention. Thank you. Two abstentions. Dr. Terenzio, President's report, please.
Good morning, everybody. So we're starting off with the reason why we're all here, helping get our students onto their next journey. So for the new council members, what will happen in our May meeting, there'll be a shorter meeting because we put you through rehearsal for commencement. So the council is a part of the procession. We also have ropes for you, and you will be properly seated in the front. Eric is always on stage. The honorary degree recipient this year is Tom Porter from the Mohawk Nation, and he will be bringing his 16 children.
Wow.
Yes.
On stage?
I'll give up my seat.
That's a good one.
Don't make me laugh. Actually, the Mohawk Nation is very excited about this. I believe they also wanted to bring their the chairperson of the school he founded. Where's Jason? Is Jason here?
Jason's out today.
That's right, he's out today.
Scrambling
So-
with it.
Jason and Cynthia are working very closely with all of the Mohawk Nation folks so that we do this appropriately. We are also having a reception for him at the Iroquois Museum the night before. So the stage party and the council will be invited to that. We'll make sure to get those invitations out. We think we're starting the reception at 5:30. 5:30. So we're excited about that as well. You know, the museum folks are very excited. So we would love your presence at the reception. And then the morning of commencement, you're going to get all this, but I thought we'd give you a heads up. There's a breakfast for all of us with our students and other guests. It's a bigger event, but it's all about us at that. That's just us with Tom. And then commencement starts at 11. Anything else right now that folks may want to know, Cynthia? About logistics?
No, I don't believe so, not yet. We have a
Okay.
meeting this afternoon for more.
Okay, because the breakfast will be in the Unity Center, and we'll get you all down to the field house. You'll robe with us, and then we'll get you down by vans. Any questions or? It's always a lovely thing. Of course, when do we start worrying about weather?
A month ago.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
It's a very nice ceremony. I know it always leaves me with a good feeling to see what this college has accomplished and what those students have accomplished with this college. And it's really remarkable and a great time.
It is a great time, that's for sure. So in the spirit too of moving on to the next agenda, that the council gets to know more about what the college does, and many of those who you may not have a chance to meet or see them in action. So last time you met Chief Henn, we thought it important that today you hear more about the Institute for Rural Vitality. And Dr. Ferguson is our executive director of the Institute, as well as the Chief Economic Development Officer of the college. Scott's going to do a brief presentation. What I want to say about this is, as we are moving further into the 21st century, we are taking seriously as a college, and we have been for a while, that we are, first of all, we're the largest employer. Second, as a regional economic or a regional public anchor institution, our responsibility is economic development and the vitality and the quality of life of surrounding communities. We have taken that quite seriously. I think you've heard we are the go-to institution for all things agricultural business. We are the go-to institution for many other types of expertise as such. The Institute Scott has taken this Institute to places I never dreamed of. And what he's doing, not just what we call the third mission of the college. Many institutions are trying to figure out what their third mission is, and we've been in it for 100 years. And what it is, right, so institutions do transfer of knowledge and all the cool traditional pieces of that with research and getting important information and what we've learned about all parts of humanity into the public sphere. The other piece now of the third mission is how we, in partnership with community, make a difference in everybody's quality of life. It's not just sharing what we've learned, it's also bringing others in to develop and produce other kinds of information and skills and what we need. If you read about the third mission, you'll see many institutions are scrambling to even know what that means. And I do think, and that's one reason why I think we are in such good position, is we know it. It's in our DNA. I don't care what class you talk to, what professor you talk to. They will talk about the quality of life through the lens of their discipline. I mean, because Professor Hage is here, what have we done in terms of how to help? We've learned communications in the agricultural sphere is important. So what has Eric done with his faculty members? You've produced this wonderful program on agriculture communications. So more like that. So it's a long introduction for a very important entity at the college. So Scott's going to do an overview and just tell you how the Institute is taking this mission to the next level.
Can I just add my 2 cents? In addition to the College Council, one of my other retirement jobs, I'm on the board of Schoharie Economic Enterprise Corporation, which is a private sector approach to development. SEEK could not do what it does without the college. So it's so important what, Scott, you're doing and what this college does and means for the community to that other organization's mission of developing the economics of Schoharie County.
Well, thank you for that, Eric.
It's very important we work together.
Yeah, we'll talk some more about SEEK and how we've been engaged there. Good morning. Thank you, President Tranzio. I know some of the College Council members, but not all. So I'm Scott Ferguson, as President Tranzio said. I've been leading the Institute since January of 2021. And as you'll see, we've really changed what we're doing in the Institute. So this will give you an idea of what we have going on. So we're going to cover what we do, give you a little bit of background, and then spend time on our initiatives and funding sources, just so you know how we're engaged in across the environment. And then some results on both the entrepreneurial side and the credential workforce development side. So what we're about, really it's assisting business in one form or another to bolster our rural economy. That's really at the heart of everything that we do at the Institute, which you'll see as we go through the different initiatives that we have. So to give you some background, we previously, when we set up the Institute, we did it with partners in a manner that we didn't deliver or develop the actual services. We did that through third-party relationships that we had. And what we've done since 2021 is we've shifted that so that we actually develop and deliver the solutions that we're going to talk about today. And that's enabled us to build our own reputation around these areas. And as you'll see, that is really critical for the long-term success of the broader picture that President Trenzio talked about. So what we went about doing is elevating what the IRV was doing. Specifically, that meant that we added economic development and workforce development to the Institute. Some of the things that we've accomplished and engaged in. Southern Tier 8, if you're not familiar with it, that is the Federal Economic Development District. I was trying to remember what the last D was. That's 8 counties toward Binghamton, but Schoharie is in it. So we're able to be in that economic engine, if you will. And then we're also in the Mohawk Valley Economic Development District. And then we're underneath the Mohawk Valley Regional Economic Development Council, which is the state side of it. So you have federal and state going on at the same time, and we're participating in all of those. Okay. We've also created what's called SPARK, and that is an alliance and collaboration between SEEK, the tourism function for Otsego and Schoharie County, the Schoharie County IDA, the Schoharie County Ag Specialist, and the Schoharie County Economic Development Specialist. We meet monthly, collaborating on how we can all add to the initiatives that are going on in the county from an economic perspective. So as Eric was talking about, I sit on the SEEK advisory board, so I'm engaged in their activities. And then we've created this collaboration. We're meeting monthly to work collectively for what's the best interest of the county. So what do? Well, we put in proposals for where economic development could come to the county. What opportunities are out there floating in ether space that we might be well suited for. That's the kind of stuff we do collectively. So there's pieces that the college puts into that. There's pieces that the economic development puts into it, that the IDA puts into it, to try to have a good collective picture of what the opportunities are and how maybe we can bring them here. Okay. We've also increased our entrepreneurial programs. I'll go through those on the next slide so you'll see what that looks like. This year, we went after much broader funding alternatives. It's been growing every year because we had a strategy of diversifying our funding, but this year we really went after a broader set. And those are just some examples to give you an idea. We went after academic funding to give free tuition to people to pursue in-need degree programs. We went after how do we aggregate farm products in a way that helps farm to table happen here. That's the second grant. That's a $3 million grant we haven't heard back from yet. Green Workforce was an academic one to bring EV charger repairs. How do we train those people? Totally different spaces that we've gone into to try to bring economic opportunities here to the area, educate people that will be in the future economy, if you will. Okay. Key Bank, I'm sure you've seen the announcement of that, where we stepped into the space of developing career or industry-ready programs for people that have predominantly are on the spectrum from a disability perspective, so that they can be independent. And we're developing the career side of that and collaborating with ARC on the people's skill side of that. So totally different kinds of spaces that we've played in to, again, move forward the economic vision here. And as you'll see, we have 4 specific foci that are interdependent as the IRB. We're going to go left to right. The Entrepreneur Center, Empire State Entrepreneur Center, underneath that are our initiatives. So the Ag Innovation Center is all focused on value-added product development. So we help producers, farmers, create new products from their produce that they create. So a simple example, Love and Mama Farm from outside Amsterdam brought 1,000 pounds of tomatoes, and made I don't know how many bottles of her flaming hot salsa. Okay, so now she not only is a farmer, she's a product that she's selling as well, a finished product. Okay, we've created a business development boot camp. It's our own curriculum, which is down a little bit further toward the bottom, steps for success. We've been using that. We'll be starting our 5th cohort using that curriculum here in the summer. We went after a grant to bring a business plan competition here. This is for entrepreneurs to participate. We're holding our first one May 1st here on campus. People that have graduated from our business development boot camp have the opportunity to compete for free money. $15,000 first prize, $8,500 second prize, and third prize. That's, for a small business, that's a significant amount of cash to help them be off the ground. The Entrepreneur Expo will end on that note. If you haven't been, you should, and we'll show you an invitation at the end. Steps for Success, I already mentioned. That's a curriculum that we developed for college students that are here for any major to be able to pursue creating their business while they're here, studying their academic studies, so that when they leave, they're ready to start that business. All they need is the capital and future. Okay, and as I said, we're using that curriculum multiple times in other ways. And then the last one, value-added product development. You'll see in the results here in a little bit. So Credentials and Workforce is all about workforce development. If you heard about the Empowers Award being given to us, that was $2.6 million. 1.6 million of it is in the first bullet, agribusiness workforce development. It's micro-credentials focused on agribusiness needs. The $1 million is over on the value-added product development. So we've funded those programs for 3 years, the value-added product and the agribusiness workforce development, through being awarded that grant. What that's going to do is greatly subsidize needed training for agribusiness businesses, their workforce. Okay. We continue to grow our, by the way, the bold is stuff that's pending. You'll see National Grid there are working. They wanted us to do a safety training. We've done a lot of things in that second bucket. Specialized custom training for Avasan to deliver to people around the world on how to build customer service skills. We built a credential program for NBT, for Key Bank. We're working with National Grid to build one. We've had discussions with USDA on how they do training for their entry-level people to be qualified for their jobs. So that's all in that bucket. Okay. Any questions on that? Shared use space is, the P is proposed, the N is new, and the A is we added to it since 2021. So you'll see that list is pretty much new except for Taste of New York and USDA. In one way or another, we've bolstered that. And how this fits in is it helps entrepreneurs move toward being a bigger business if they so choose. So the Love and Mama Farm is a perfect example. She wanted to move into products. So now she was able to use our shared use kitchen, which is easily $100,000 worth of equipment that a farmer is not going to go and invest in to create their initial products. But they can come here and pay $22.50 an hour and create their initial products and go sell them and now fund their development of their business. Okay, that's the concept. And then economic development initiatives, that's really where I spend most of my time. I collaborate a lot with Advancement. Jay-Z is not here this morning, but Nick is. Nick knows that I work with him a lot. And then I'm involved in all of those economic development groups that we talked about earlier. We are creating a New York State Ag consortium. We're trying to create a New York State Ag task force. Those are things that I'm actively engaged in.
Can I just
Yep,
interrupt?
go ahead,
Because
please.
he's being modest. This task force, this consortium, we've been asked by Commissioner Ball to do this, and we're talking to SUNY that this is going to have a SUNY-wide implication. So this is much bigger than what Scott's even touching upon, and it is a very, very big deal. that we're in this space and we're trying to show why we should continue to be the leader. This does not include Cornell because that's the land grant. This is a SUNY-centric proposal. And again, it is a very big deal. So I appreciate you just mentioned it's big.
On that note, Gus and I were at the Rural Resource Fair down at the Legislature building. And most people don't realize that we are the biggest ag program in the state for bachelor level students. Not SUNY, the state. Yes, Cornell and us play tag team depending on what year it is, but this year we're lucky, we're the leader. And when you look.
Last year too, yeah.
Last year we beat them by a couple.
Yeah, only a couple. So it's a tight race some years.
Yeah.
But when you look at SUNY, we're 3-4 times the next lowest school.
And the only BS in animal science.
So
Good point.
when New York State starts to talk about agriculture, it really is us by multiples.
When you talk about the biggest, like, what is the measurement?
Number of students enrolled in bachelor programs in agriculture. Yep. Thank you for that question. What I didn't cover is the 2 or 3 projects. So we have economic development initiatives that we here have been driving, if you will. Can it be open? Okay. So there's a few that we've worked really hard with. One, Gus and I are kind of tag team with Cass, and that is on Empire State Greenhouses being up on part of the Kobe farmland, which will bring state-of-the-art vertical agriculture grow space so that we can leverage it as an educational institution to educate people in the newest technology of agriculture. The second one, and we're really, really close to having a signed deal on that. And the second one, we've been working for quite a while with Advancement on what do we do from a hotel perspective to connect with the college for us to be able to offer conferences here, offer getaway weekends, things that leverage all the assets we have as a college campus that people would be interested in as an experience, because that's what people are looking for, right? So it's again, a whole mind view of what can we do that brings economic value and increase to our region. Okay. This, all I want to show out of this is the variance or the diversity, that's the better word, diversity of all of our funding sources. What this means is the team not only delivers this stuff, we also work really hard on how we fund it, because most of the team is paid out of the grants. They're not paid out of the state. In other words, this is an initiative that's self-funded to a large extent. Okay. These are some of our entrepreneurial results, and the big asterisk that I want you to think about is these are as of June 30, 2024. So the number on the left will be over 100 higher than that when we get to June 30, 2025. As of the end of March, we were already at 85 for businesses we adopt. Okay, and we still had a quarter to go. If you go down to the new products, we have helped with more than 20 since November. Okay, so these are going to be much larger numbers by the time we get to the end of our year. Actually, before I leave that, if you don't know this, I know some of you are in the farming industry, but if you don't know this, the value of this product development is about revenue and economic monies and development staying here in our area, right? So if a farm produces product, raw product, whether that be an animal or a crop, generally a farmer keeps somewhere between 11 and 15 cents of that revenue dollar okay? The whole dollar when you look at it in the industry, right? When you go into the value-added product space, they keep 90+ cents out of that dollar, which means it gets reinvested here, wherever that producer is. This is a huge, proven tactic of growing the economy. That's why we have great focus on it. And the focus that we have is really incredible. We have our own food scientist that helps people develop their recipes and their products. We have all the shared use spaces that people come in. We give a free service of helping them run through their draft or their initial trial run, if you will, before they get charged for using the kitchen. There's a lot of effort that goes in helping people. Right now, we have a value-added product program, and we've got 16 businesses in it. The last time we had 16 businesses, we created over 40 new products. So it's a real big impact to the economy.
Scott, you might want to mention the ripple effect of
Yes.
creating those products. That is, yes, the farmer benefits, and
Correct.
usually the farmer is so delighted with everything that has happened here and with having that product that the farmer talks happily, expansively about, oh, so-and-so, my friend, is also part of this, and it spreads money to other farms and to other businesses in the region.
Yes, thank you. If you look, the dollar value varies depending on what source you go to, but in general, the agriculture dollars get magnified by about 70%, depending on what data source you look at. So whatever's happening agriculturally in this total picture that you're talking about, 70% of that again gets added to the economy from the ripple effect. Okay, so credentials and workforce development results. Our little campus here is 4th in SUNY in this initiative of micro-credentials. We are way ahead of the rest of SUNY. There are peers of ours that have 0. Okay.
May I, this is that third mission idea that I was sharing, that, we're in this space in really cool different ways.
When SUNY goes to a conference for micro-credentials, they take the person that works for me, Deb Burnett, to speak. 2 years ago, SUNY was invited to an international conference on micro-credentials. Deb Burnett and the SUNY leader attended. Okay, we are a leader in SUNY in this area. The enrollments are astronomical increases. Now, what you need to remember is these are non-matriculated enrollments. Some of them come for a couple days. Some of them come for a month, but they come for that particular program. And now what we've been focusing on is how do we build the systems around it so we maintain a long-term relationship with that person who came for that one credential, so that as they have future educational needs, we're connected to them for those needs. That's what we're trying to do. The big thing out of this is the completion rate is incredible. College degrees, depending on what school it is and what level of degree you look at, are somewhere between 40 and 55%. Okay, we're at 96%. That means people that take these graduate from them. And these are not a workshop where you just attend and that counts. There's a pre-test and a post-test for every single one of these. We have to measure that they actually achieve the learning outcomes. Okay, this is skill development. We have a number of partners. Some of them are listed here for you. And lastly, I'd like to invite you to be a guest at our 3rd annual Entrepreneur Expo, Friday, May 2nd from 11 to 2 in Upper Prentice. Our slogan is taste, try, and buy. So come and see what your local producers have for sale, taste it, take it home for Mother's Day. It's a great opportunity. There's wonderful stuff. I'm in meetings all across the region and people talk about that event. They've already signed up to come back, right? So It's getting press for us across the region.
What were the times again, Scott?
11 to 2.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions? Yes.
Could you talk a little bit about the business structure? Is it a not-for-profit? Like what?
Great question. So we've revisited that several times as an institution. And at this point, we are not a separate legal entity. There are restrictions that come because of that. But it also saves a ton of money because we don't have all the overhead of having to be our own legal entity.
So you're part of the college?
We are part of the college, correct. We have a charter that's outward facing. And that is why we wind up being largely grant funded, because we can't be spending state tuition education dollars to be providing these services to the community. That's not legal for us to do, right? So we go after these grants that will fund us to be able to deliver these services. So it's a really important principle. Yeah.
May I add to that, because it's a great question, and Scott did a great job explaining it. We'd like to go actually to the next level with this, and Darcy's going to be leading the charge. We're talking to faculty leadership. If this is a part of us, and we think it makes perfect sense, where can we use more faculty talent, right? Because as the 2-year, 4-year, and the demographic cliff and all that is upon us, in terms of the decrease of students wanting to go to college, we've been creating this that perhaps faculty can teach in it. And it counts towards load, whether it's a credit or a non-credit bearing course. We think, and we will be talking to the faculty more about that. And we did try that once with meat processing.
We did.
The meat processing.
Twice, actually. Now.
Twice now?
Yeah.
They couldn't make enrollment with your traditional 2-year, 4-year students. So we said, go and do the non-credit course, and it will count towards your load as faculty.
Yeah,
It was highly successful.
we've done that 2 falls with meat processing. We learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
We didn't lose money. We didn't make a lot of money doing it that way. But in retrospect, we've learned that some of that might have been when we chose to do it. Some of that could have been could revolve around the mode that we delivered it in. It was a 4-week block, and that's really hard for people to say, I'm checking out of my life for 4 weeks, right? To be able to attend this workshop to become a meat processor. So there's several things we've learned, and we're now looking at how do we structure the next one, right? But to President Terenzio's point, the higher ed landscape is definitely shifting. And it's shifting toward this, not away from it, right? So the key is, how do we build our institution around this and keeping a connection with the students, if you will, or the participants, so that we become their education institution throughout their education needs. Because when you really dig down, what's happening is people are taking smaller increments of education when they need it. Well, if you look at an average career, that means over time they need more and more education to be able to qualify for promotions, development, et cetera, in the workplace, right? So if we can kind of be with them through that journey, that's good for us and it's good for them.
So just to push that further, and obviously the faculty then can be more creative and not worry like, oh my God, am I going to make load? We don't want that kind of burden on them. What else can we do, particularly as an ag tech center? So we think it's also healthy for our faculty. The next piece that Scott will be working on with the faculty and the provost is the idea of stackable, right? Can we go from a non-credit to then, if this participant wants to
Answer
become.
yes.
Yes, right, for the student, right, and they want to get credit for it, what can we do? How do we stack that? And that conversation is going to be.
It's already underway. It's more the mechanism and agreeing as an institution how that mechanism works. But yes, that's our ultimate goal, so that people, as they go through this journey, all these pieces add up to what they need.
Scott, the VBA is a good prototype for that, correct?
It is, absolutely.
We've done that.
Good point.
Yeah, because We have that in pieces already, and I'm forgetting what it's called, the degree completion program, right? That's built for if some people have certain education, they meet certain education requirements, they can go into the degree completion program. And last time I checked and was involved in the details of this, every course in that program was available online. So we could meet anybody's needs anytime they need to continue to move forward.
Can you define what BA is?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bachelor's in business administration.
Bachelor's of Business Administration, correct.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I know we use
That-
our.
we're acronym heavy.
That's actually how I
Just like
started
the
in
military.
college, teaching in what they called the Saturday college. And it was this 4-hour blocks of education on Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons. Yeah. And in 8 weeks, they finished a course, basically. So in 16 weeks, they could do a morning and an afternoon class through that 16-week period, and they were a full-time student on a Saturday.
So, comment, those who don't know, may look at SUNY Cobleskill and say, oh, it's a small little college, doesn't have a lot to offer. I think because we're a small little college, it's really a big college, we have a lot more nimbleness. We can develop programs like this. We can innovate. We can reach out to our communities and ask, what do you need, and actually put together something to meet those needs. So,
This is great. Thank you so much for
Very
explaining it
welcome.
all. I think that the fact that you have a shared kitchen is a really great asset for the
With four.
community. 4 of them. So can you tell me a little bit about your cost structure? Because
Yeah.
I run a nonprofit with a commercial kitchen. We've had some people drift to us saying the costs are too high.
Yeah, so we've had people give us that feedback as well. And the fundamental foundational component we have to start at is we're a state educational institution, right? So I, as the leader of the institute, can't give you something for free that other people can't get for free, right? So in other words, I can't let somebody use that kitchen for free. It's illegal. I'm not allowed to, right? So what we do is annually, we look at what's that marketplace look like. When I took over, we were at $30 an hour, I think, for kitchen use. Now, that might sound like a lot. Most of these people that are doing production, they're in and out in 3 hours. And they're producing cartloads of product, right? Because they know what they're doing. All they needed was that certified kitchen space, right? And the way that works for us is that space is certified as our location and their business. So the license actually is to both of us for them to use that space. And we help them go through that licensure process. There's a lot of people that don't necessarily go through the right certification processes to be able to have their product to be sellable to the public. We don't do that. They have to go through the right process. We help them go through that process. And it's basically Ag and Markets coming and certifying the space they're going to use and their process of creating it at the same time in one inspection. And then the license comes after that. Today, last time we did a environmental scan, we thought we were a little high. So I don't go back to our cost. I go to what is fair in the marketplace. So today we're charging $22.50 an hour for a commercial kitchen. If they use some of the other spaces we have, that's $30 an hour. We have a food packaging lab, we have a brewing and distilling lab, we have, and then if you go into the meat processing space, that's totally separate. They determine what the availability is because we have to process our educational classes through that, and that's pretty intense because you can only put 10 people in the room at the same time. So there's limitations, more limitations in that space just because of the need requirement, if you will. The dairy processing, I think is 35 an hour for processing time, and then, don't quote me on this, but I think it's 20 an hour for non-processing time. In other words, their milk is sitting in our facility in some stage taking up our space. That drops down because we're not spending time on the processing, but it's taking up our equipment space. So
So
it
part of
varies.
your cost structure includes that hand holding through the license process.
Correct.
Which makes sense.
Well, no. Actually, that hand holding is free grant funded technical assistance. Yep. The literal charge is when they step into the room to make their product, when they step out of the room cleaned to leave.
But you're saying the same thing, but you're saying it's free to them for.
Yeah, but it's free to them for handholds.
Yeah.
So what I heard was in that price is us helping them get that certification, and that's a no. That's free assistance we give from grants. Okay, they're only literally paying for the time they're in the kitchen making their product. All the help we give them is free. Yes. Okay, and we've seen the same thing. Most of the people that say it's too expensive are at a point in their business that maybe they shouldn't be doing that yet. Others, they look at places that are not a real commercial kitchen. They go to a church kitchen that's not certified, and I'm not going to judge that, but that's not who we are, right? So when they come here, they are getting a certified commercial kitchen with everything that they need.
And we are not set up to receive these people. And so we tell them that. And we thought about becoming a local food hub and what that would involve. But it doesn't make sense to duplicate efforts that are already being done.
We should talk.
Yeah, and we should. Before Carolyn took her job as the ag specialist, she and I had interactions. She's been living in the area for a while. She used to work for a company that did grants in this space. And she asked us, what's the rate? Because she'd heard the same story talking to people, right? And I said, well, we were at 30, we're at 22.50. She's like, oh, 30 is a really good deal anyway. So, and she's worked in that space for years. So I don't think it's us. I think it's the expectation that we're a public institution, and therefore it should be really cheap.
Thank you.
Yep.
Scott, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And there's a lot more to what he could have talked about. He could talk for hours on this. So, but what a beautiful example of a third mission and why we think we're in that space. So that next piece, again, in terms of bringing the faculty expertise on this and what this looks like, it's a model that we think is for our future, right? And how we are able to serve. We talked about, and we will be talking about with the faculty over the summer, what is the ideal size of a 2-year, 4-year degree institution? What's our ideal size? What is realistic? Why we're scanning the environment with Anya and Darcy, and actually Scott, we're calling it the Tiger Team. What is out there, our blue ocean ideas, and we're coming up with a few. What is possible? What's realistic? So whatever that size is, and working with faculty, the kinds of programming they want to deliver, we still have to diversify. We've been diversifying for 10 years because no institution can, first of all, survive on tuition alone. The reason why so many of the big institutions now are such under fire, they exist because of grants. I don't think people understand that the operating budget of Harvard or Columbia or these institutions that are under siege is based on the grants they get. So when you heard that Johns Hopkins has to lay off 2,000 people, those are direct jobs related to the grants to do the research with their students. It is so intertwined. I don't think people understand. I think those who do are doing what they're doing. We've made SUNY Cobleskill as best we can reliant on this type of thinking. If we are just doing tuition, and I do feel for the liberal arts only colleges because that's all they have. They may have grants like with Pell Helps and HEOP, which is EOP for us. But the model they have to figure out, the model they're using now, even if it weren't such an interesting environment right now, is not going to sustain. And now it's going to be even quicker because of what's happened. So that is why we are excited about our future. We have work to do as a faculty, we all know. We are going to do that work, and it's going to look differently. We have the foundation of the IRV. We have all other kinds of cool ideas that faculty are coming up with. And I think that more we embrace that while holding on to the 2-year, 4-year. I'm not saying that we're not going to do that. But what is realistic about that, and how then do we build from that? So we thought that's critically important because it really is the future, right? And Darcy's going to be meeting with faculty over the summer. Eric and I meet on a regular basis. We're meeting Friday with some other ideas of how we bring shared governance in all of this. You know, this is not just us, it's all of us working on that next model. So if we have to go through pain, why don't we do it to look towards the future rather than having to go through pain to say, I never believe in we have to do this work to go away from. It's important to know we have to do this work to go to what we desire and that goal, because it's going to be painful no matter how we do it. So why don't we do it where people have excitement and desire to go? The IRV plays a very major role in that work. So I don't know if, Eric, you want to add anything? I know you're going to be giving your report soon, but this is how we talk.
No, I think we have a lot of untapped faculty talent on the campus that we could use outside of load. When we talk about load, it's your standard contact hours you have to do. So it'll be like 12 contact hours per semester. So some of that could be non-credit bearing, supporting
Why not?
credentials.
Right? Really? Why not? So, so more to come on that, but again, thank you, Scott. The budget update, because this you needed to hear this. This was critically important. And Wendy had said to me, Marion, nothing's changed because the budget hasn't passed yet. So everything we've shared with you to this time is still status quo. So, and those of you who came to the budget workshop really got a lot out of that. We can do that again for those of you who couldn't make it. I think you found it helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll talk about more how to get the rest of you up to speed. So I'd like to just then have Anya talk about where we are in numbers, a snapshot of the enrollment to date.
Sure. So we're doing well for fall. I want to do a big shout out to admissions because 4 weeks ago we were 25%, almost 25% behind the deposits as compared to last year. Right now we're even. Right now it goes up and down. Some days we're 2% down, some days we're 3% up over last year, but we caught up. So that was my biggest concern.
But last year we were up. So
Last year, yes.
to compare it to last year, we were already up from the year before.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, quite significantly. So like this morning at 7:45, we're 4 deposits down, but
Okay.
in 3 hours, we may be 4 deposits up, you know. And that's kind of the numbers game right now, day to day, watching it. It just fluctuates, but we're working hard on making it consistently up. So
Just for context in terms of those numbers, our incoming class is usually around 600 to 700. So 4 students is a really
it's small, but you know, we need every single
we need
one.
every student.
So I'm happy we caught up, and now we're gonna work hard, and they're really doing an excellent job to bring those students in, especially with the uncertainty that's out there. I'm actually surprised at those numbers
Very.
because is expecting that they will be lower, and I'm hoping that we won't be, and we're on that trajectory right now.
And out of state, we're very surprised.
Yes, we're up in out-of-state students. I think it was almost 5% the last time I looked. So, I mean, still, not huge numbers, but we're up, and that's double revenue. So we're very happy about that.
We used to have international students.
Mhm.
Do we still have international students?
We do have about 14 active international students. We didn't stop the recruitment from the recruiting agency. We've got, agreements with, last fall, we had 6 international students in the pipeline that did not get the visas. And we're thinking it's gonna be the case for the foreseeable future, very few of them. We're not gonna stop them from coming, we admit them. We actually have, I believe, 4 in the pipeline that applied, but we're not sure if they're gonna get the visa in time or at all.
So one of
to
the
come here.
consequences is if a student does get pulled, and we know that has happened, they don't tell us. Anya has to monitor what's called CBIS.
Yeah, it's a system where we track, where ICE tracks international students. So,
That's what
yeah,
we're
I'm
finding.
watching the list, make sure that no student is terminated, but there were 605, and send me that link, 605 or
Yeah.
650 students in the United States that got terminated. Their visas were basically canceled by ICE without notifying the colleges.
One of our part-time workers was in that, but that person was a graduate student elsewhere, and
Yes, so actually
Yeah.
they were terminated by us in a way because they weren't gonna work here anymore. But when I heard about it from the global office.
right, they got
Yeah.
pulled.
So, so yeah, it's an interesting situation
It is.
with international students.
So for all those reasons, higher education institutions have to your point, be agile and just scan the environment, and I think be as transparent with the community as possible and put a way forward. We have a way forward. There's a bunch of icebergs on the way, but we know how to navigate them. So, thank you. The other, usually Duran has his report as the CDO, but we thought, put it under my report because he's doing very, very good work in a very important space for us that we think, we wanted to permeate
Sure.
the institutions.
Sure. So we've partnered with our college dean, our assistant vice president of academic affairs, and our director of facilities to really create a framework for UD and UDL framework.
Universal design.
Universal design and universal design for learning framework. We've identified the primary goal is really to establish a culture on the campus that embraces universal design and universal design for learning principles. In conjunction with that, we've identified 3 strategies. The first being promote awareness and understanding. And we plan to go about that by offering a series of professional development opportunities, training workshops, but also incentivizing faculty that use UDL principles by providing a grant funding program. The second strategy is enhance accessibility. And what that is simply first assessing our physical space on campus and our digital environment, and really coming up with strategies to improve accessibility for our students, faculty, and staff. And the third being support and diverse learning needs. And we are in the beginning stages of developing a resource library for our faculty that's going to be housed in a bright space framework. And really taking the mystery away from universal design for learning and simply providing them with the tools they need to incorporate the principles in their classroom. So there's a lot more to come. And I'm excited about, what the future holds, but we are meeting regularly and with the goal to launch at least the training aspects of it, perhaps as part of professional development at the end of the semester, but really having a huge surge and campaign come next fall.
Just to give you two examples of universal design in the physical world, because you'll know it better then, and actually we're putting it into the facility master plan process right now. We're building a new facility master's plan with SUNY. The cutouts on sidewalks is a universal design because everybody can use it, not just for one. Here, when we had to do something with had a staircase in it. We took the staircase out. People were like, why? Because universal design says to. Everybody should have to go up the same path as anybody else. So people who use wheelchairs couldn't use the stairs, so they came out. So it's a very different, interesting mindset. So some folks are saying, well, this is a little, uncomfortable or puts me at a disadvantage. And we'd say, well, everybody will be using the same thing. So you may be at a disadvantage because that staircase isn't there anymore, but it's a disadvantage for others. So that's the mentality. It's been around for a while. So when you look at your environment and see what things are doing, you'll see it more in the physical space. We're trying to bring it into the learning space as well.
Sure. And I think, the operative word is everyone. And so when you're looking at whether it's physical space or with, of course, in the classroom, we're trying to make, and with the understanding that, of course, not everyone, but students learn differently. And how do we really accommodate that in a very creative, meaningful way?
A question. So I know that all state employees have to go through certain online trainings. Is there professional development in addition to that the staff here has to?
Actually, SUNY Center for Professional Development offers a badging program. But, to your point, the dean and the assistant VP and I, and of course, the director of facilities, we're thinking about really developing a course of our own. For that very reason, there's a cost associated with the SUNY course. And so through Brightspace offering training and opportunities for our community. Yeah.
That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions on any of these reports? Thank you, Dylan.
Sure.
Keep us posted.
Sure.
Good. Okay, Eric, if you.
Okay, well, some of the things that I'm going to talk about today were on the horizon last time. They've kind of come to fruition, or they have come to fruition. We approved at our campus-wide governance meeting a revision to our credit for prior learning policy that provides an appeal process. So if you take your industry experience and you want to convert it to credit and you get refused, you have a formal process you can go through for appeal. And it actually mirrors our other appeal processes like final grade appeals. We made a revision to our attendance policy, and we added campus sanctioned activities as excused absences, including athletic competitions, probably most prominently. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
It's been a long push-up hill.
Yes.
Thank you. Field trips and experiences, scientific meetings and conferences, university sanctioned club events. In the past, we had things that were like, there were law, religious observances, military obligations, medical treatment, mental or physical health. But what it does is it gives consistency. It makes it an official excused absence, whereas we might have faculty who some are more lenient and understanding, and some are less lenient. And so then we give you, here you have 4 absences, use them as you will. And that puts athletes, for example, at a disadvantage in my mind. So now we've made that excused absence, the university sanctioned events, as well as the academic stuff as well. Of course, students are still accountable for the work.
Yep.
That goes without saying.
Yep.
I spoke of the AI policy as something on a very distant horizon last time, and that has come to fruition as a very polished draft from, you've seen it as well, Dr. Medica, from our academic policies committee, and I think they've done a really good job with it. They've made a distinction between generative AI, the use of generative AI, which is I'm using it to produce my work for me versus assistive, which is, it's a tool. We all use it. Organizations use it, academics use it. So if you have a hypothesis, perhaps you've already established it, you've done your research, you can use AI to support it. So we're trying to establish guidelines for what's responsible use of AI, as well as enforcing. So it's not just punitive kind of stuff, which I think is very important. I've seen the draft. We're going to vote on it in May. Reading the tea leaves, it's going to engender a lot of discussion. Hopefully we can vote on it. If not, it'll be because we've gotten lots of good input, and that's good. We'll revise it and bring it back again. It's something we should be very deliberate about. Academic policies is looking at our academic integrity policy, which, as the provost knows, is kind of needs some freshening up. I think I was the only person here, Durham was here as well, the last time we revisited that policy in 2006, 2007. So
It's been a while.
it's been a while. So the higher education landscape is rapidly changing, and our academic integrity policy has to reflect that. So it's a good policy, but perhaps a bit prescriptive, perhaps a bit dusty, and we're freshening it up. So that was a charge that was suggested by the provost and dean that I gave to our academic policies committee. Our curriculum committee right now is a constant mill of course changes, program changes, the occasional new course coming through, more rarely the new program coming through, new minors coming through. We're having more and more minors, so they're always busy at work. They rolled out an Adobe signature page for our workflow for these course action forms. To many of you from outside, this sounds like a small thing. This is like revolutionary. This has changed our workflow, because the workflow is not always linear with these curriculum forms. So this really helps us be able to track it instead of pulling it out of the purgatory of someone's email. So they're doing great work. APPC is in a very busy period. Academic Personnel Policies Committee. They are looking at binders for reappointment and promotion. We have very standardized processes, checks and balances. For promotion and reappointment, you start with a small committee of your peers from your department. Then it goes to the dean. Then it goes to our governance committee, faculty governance, which is academic personnel policies committee, which we call APPC. They look at it. Then they make a recommendation to the provost. The provost generates a letter of intent to the faculty member and to the president. The president makes the final determination and produces a letter to the faculty member. So lots of checks and balances. Some faculty might see it as running a gauntlet, but it's good to have in place. So they're really busy right now. Spring is always a busy time for that. Lastly, we are evolving into a new governance structure that, I don't want to say divides us, because it doesn't divide us. We are establishing an institutional governance and a faculty governance, where we just have a faculty governance right now. So all the committees are under faculty governance right now, which includes facilities and space and technology. But those committees, which seem less faculty-centric, would go directly under the president, but would still have faculty input and involvement, which is important. This might be too far in the weeds, I apologize. Fiscal affairs would be, we hope, a shared committee. Strategic planning, a shared committee, officially under institutional governance, but still with a presence on executive committee, which I oversee.
May I add, we think it's critically important that the faculty own their domain. They have primacy in curriculum and academic policies. And it was also, in my mind, getting a little watered down and not as crisp and important as Eric is alluding to. So that was part of it, to say, faculty, here's your work. And I've said, I don't want any part of that. That's up to them. Whatever they say through the process is what I will abide to. That's the way it should be. These other ones, we wanted further input from the rest of the community, the professionals and others. So the faculty are seeing that because, and it's more timely, right? So decisions are coming yesterday. These poor folks are meeting in a committee once every, maybe every other month or twice a month. That I can't even get to them to say, I need your advice. So we're hoping to streamline all of that. And what Eric has asked, and I agree, can we have a better line of what you're learning with this committee so that the executive committee of the faculty, the smaller committee, understands and how it may have an impact on their policies.
Yeah, transparency and communication.
Yeah, so that's what we're hoping to, which is a big deal. This is a big deal for the faculty, and I'm very impressed and I'm very appreciative. Because they could hold on to it, and they're not.
And we can see that. I mean, we can see that the conversations that are most vital and vibrant are the ones that are the faculty-centric, as you call them, committees. Curriculum committee, we will keep. Academic policies committee, we will keep. APPC, the personnel committee, we will keep. And professional development, we will keep, but it will also have an expanded role where we'll have different initiatives to help faculty. And also we'll have more funding they can offer faculty for supporting professional development, academic equipment replacement, which is always a thing, strategic initiative requests for
Correct.
equipment. So,
All that is in place.
and I came to the president with trepidation saying, can we share FA and SP at fiscal affairs and strategic planning? She said, yes. Actually, I only asked for fiscal affairs. You said, hey, let's do strategic planning.
Yeah, I did.
So we have these two sides, institutional and faculty governance. Then we have this kind of crossover area, which I think is super healthy. And Dr. Medica and President Terenzio have been wonderful to work with in executive council, especially as I come into this role as someone not new to the campus, but very new to this role since January. So that's my report.
Thank you.
Questions? Comments? Great report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Nick, I guess you're it today.
I'm it today, sorry to disappoint.
For our
Quite the
new,
opposite.
for our
Yes.
new members, could you introduce yourself and say what you do?
Sure. My name is Nick DiCaprio. I work in the advancement office of John Zahara, who is John's out doing some donor travel today. So it's a pleasure to join you, and I know some of you, and those I haven't, it's nice to meet you in person. I'm just going to share some updates, but a little bit about my role. I am Senior Director of Development and Corporate Partnerships. So I work with both individual alumni and donors, but I have a heavy focus on corporations as well and businesses who support the institution. And I am pleased to announce or to share that we are well on the way and knocking on the door of our $3 million goal this year, which will be another record-setting year, which is very exciting.
How many years in a row? There'll be how many years in a row?
4.
4. Historical breaking.
Now I came on board in 2021, so I'm picking up on the great work the team was doing before I got here. So that's very exciting, and it's at a time where, it's crucial to the college, but also colleges everywhere. Fundraising is becoming increasingly important. We're not taking our foot off the gas. We still have a lot in the pipeline that we're working to close this year. That would, money in the door is what we want. So, even just we're at our goal, still keep accelerating, get, as much as we can. So, still a lot that we're working on. Heavy focus in scholarship is what we put as a priority. One thing in particular is scholarship that's as unrestricted as possible so that we can assist admissions and enrollment in attracting and retaining students. That's a key piece because, a couple $1,000s can be the difference between whether someone chooses here or chooses a different institution. So heavy focus on that. Also experiential learning opportunities for students. Eric and I chatted a little bit about some of the trips the students have go on, like our
Nick has been a godsend at times where we need money for students to do important things. You sent our ag business students to Kansas City recently through corporate sponsorship.
I assisted. I didn't.
Well, you were the key piece. So.
Exactly.
So the things we can do like that to support our students to get them out there, that's going to help both their educational experience, but also increases the reputation of the college, both regionally and around the country. Something I feel very passionate about, John does, and our team does as well. So as much as we can help with those when they're brought to us. I'm going to share a couple updates as well, just from our annual fund. Kate has been working on end-of-year appeals. In her capacity now is focusing mainly on annual fund. I'm not sure. Did John share that last time that we had Kate Weaver is going to be focusing now a lot on annual fund. She was his assistant prior to that and really everything else. So she's heading up our annual fund now, which is great because she's highly organized. We're able to do appeals and reach people we haven't before. It's only going to help us bring more dollars in. She's been doing a great job at getting appeals out the door, thinking of new appeals, thinking of ways we can reach people we haven't talked to before. One part of that is our corporate partner scholarship program, which are scholarships that are supported by businesses. They're in $1,000 increments. They go right to the student, and they can do, 5 of them, which would support 5 students at $1,000 each. And what we look for in that is if they've give a couple years in a row at a certain amount, it shows they have interest. And then you can approach them about potentially doing a larger gift or doing a gift, pledging that out so that we know we can count on that for the next X amount of years. So Kate is assisting me with that to expand our appeal and, touch even more businesses. And from the alumni point, Golden Grads coming up, doing outreach for that, for our fall celebration. And also doing research on donors or alumni who become donors we haven't been able to talk to before, or where we haven't had any connection with the college since they graduated. What are they doing now? How can we reach out to them, make a connection? Maybe it's bringing them back to campus for an event. Maybe it's sharing, a newsletter that they might be interested in or a project, and just getting them involved. Because that, whether it's time, talent, and treasure, can assist the institution. So I think in my chicken scratch handwriting, I think those are my main updates I wanted to touch on. But does anyone have any questions?
Questions, comments?
I just wanted to add, this was the astute thinking of Jay-Z, not only to find this talented man that I was hearing about for years before we even were able to hire him. John realized we had to go into the corporate space as the kind of college we are. And I think you're seeing the fruits of that because, it's industry related. You heard what Scott talks about. The reason why we are successful with so many of these grants is because of the corporate connection and how he goes out and says, you're an ally. We don't ask, we say, what can we do for you? Where do you see the synergy? So not just Nick, but that whole area. And because they're doing so well, we're going to add another line in the development office. They're the smallest development office probably in all of SUNY. But when you look at their productivity, you would think once again, this little small place, we're batting at a very, very high level. As I said last time, we give over $1 million of grants at an institution of 1,700 students. And I told you I was at a UAlbany event. They have 20, 30,000. They were bragging because they gave $5 million of scholarship money to their students. Think about that. Think about that. If we put that percentage where we would be, and they were so proud of that, I almost wanted to stand up, excuse me. So again, and it's the product. It is the product, and it's also those who really invest in how to bring us forward. So I have to thank you, Nick, for that. And you got to go to an event with him because he knows the entire room. We went to an event in the chamber dinner, 1,200 people. He knew more people than I did. And I'm like, wait, whoa. So I said, can I follow you?
So, well, that was a great event.
So thank you, Nick, for everything you do.
My pleasure.
Good.
Anybody, everybody want to reach out, my door's always open, or email me and we can get together, have a cup of coffee and chat. So
Good, thank you. Anna, thank you for your patience.
So SGA is winding down the semester. We have 2 more meetings, but we have a lot of events planned. So in previous years, we've always done like a graduation week, the last week of classes during finals week. However, last year we counted the numbers. When we labeled it as grad week, it was not very successful. We didn't. We pulled in more students that weren't graduating, and that's the goal. So we're changing it to Kobe Countdown, and it's more of focused as like stress relief and graduation. So we are still having events for graduates, but we are also having more events for more students on campus. We're starting on Sunday, May 4th. We're planning on doing a bonfire and s'mores up at alumni at their fire pit. Monday, we're planning on doing pizza with the police and yard games. And also doing a kickball tournament that night. On Tuesday, we're planning on doing headshots, resume help, planting, succulents, and another event later in the evening with distress and relax slime, making slime.
That's still a thing, huh?
Slime.
It's still a
Um,
chemistry experiment.
Yeah. And we'll also have like a candy station. They were planning on doing a water bar with the wellness dog. Thursday, we're planning on doing headshots, resumes, and more planting, along with memories craft night. That will also have supplies for students to decorate their grad caps if they choose to. And then on Friday, we're trying to work with CAST to do a grad lunch at Champlin, because last year we tried to do grad dinner. We didn't have many students, so we're trying to do it earlier in the day to see if that would be more successful. I'm also pleased to announce that for next year, we have a full e-board slate, which has not happened in a few years. So for president, we have Daniel, I'm not going to try and pronounce his last name, still can't pronounce it right. Then we have, for vice president, we have Michael Pulsinelli, treasurer Stacy Lasso, secretary Catherine Devano Neff, public relations Rosa Cia Lewis, and for DEIB, we have Juliana Johnson. So. Oh, the budget? Oh, yesterday we passed our SGA budget. It will be going to President Trenzio shortly.
They do a very good job with that.
It was a lot of hours put into it, but yes.
Can I comment on that? The budget?
Please.
Starting with Christian and then ably taken over by Hannah, the SGA budget is a significant amount of money. And what we discovered a few years ago was there were some numbers accidentally used that weren't accurate. And so they, like other members of us on the campus, had to do some rebalancing of our budgets, and they did so with such professionalism and such transparency that it's something to be applauded. And truly professional group of students. It's been such a pleasure to work with them.
Are you going to be at the next council meeting? Are you going to bring Daniel?
Yes, I will be bringing it.
The next council meeting, she will be announcing some really cool work that they've been doing with resolutions. I am so completely impressed with this group. We said, let's hold off because I want to be able to give them the response they're looking for. So I'm working on what they're requesting. So when they bring it, it's going to be a cool thing. But just to let you know, this student government has proven once again, it's all about the welfare of everybody else. They are not a selfish group of individuals. And you'll see that in the cool resolutions that are going to be coming forward. So I wanted to say, stay tuned, because I want you to be able to present them, and I want you to be able to say where we are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Any questions? Okay. I have a brief chair's report. As we mentioned at the last meeting, there was a webinar on February 24th with Will Schwartz, who's Vice Chancellor for Government Relations for the SUNY system. And he talked about advocacy efforts. And I was pleased that it was a somewhat boring webinar, because just about everything he talked about, we had already talked about here. So we're on top of it. He talked about the state budget allocations, which we heard here. I think that's in the minutes. And SUNY's and SUNY Cobleskill are doing very well if things pass for this year. He talked about the role of the councils as advocacy for campus investments. As you've heard here, there are a lot of planned and actual investments in this campus going on. He talked about the challenges of New York State versus Washington for higher education. Just turn on the news and you'll hear all about that. We talked about that here. National issues, he said, generally get referred back to the college presidents for discussion, and local strategy that feeds up into the SUNY strategy. He said that the challenge is on the national issues as we've seen and talked about, they're often very ambiguous, but he said, in terms of federal funding, look for impact on Pell Grants, Title IX, and other possibilities, which we talked about here and what we're trying to anticipate what to do. So it was good in a boring way, which might be the good thing. But SUNY seems to be right on top of these issues.
SUNY is very on top of these issues.
Mhm.
We're very lucky.
Right. Any of the council members have any comments or reports or things you'd like to talk about now or future agendas?
Eric, I have a question for
Yeah.
Derwin. I'm interested in your work on different learning styles,
Sure.
and I wonder if you have been in contact with an organization in Albany. It's CARD, the Center for Autism Research and Development at SUNY Albany, in terms of teaching to different learning styles
Okay.
and learning to manage behaviors. There may be something there for you to investigate, and it's part of SUNY, so
Sure.
it's located on Western Avenue near the southern end of the Northway.
Okay. Well,
Great
thank you.
place,
Thank
yes.
you. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, autism all of a sudden is big in the news lately with studies on what's really causing it. And so again, on the news, it's right there. So
It's now up to 1 in 37 is being identified, and most recently it was 1 in 21. And I would say it's probably due to better examination, evaluation of individuals rather than anything else happening. But that's my personal.
that is exactly what's being reported, which is one of the reasons autism has surged in California, but not in Texas, because of the investment in education, training, diagnosis, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
If I may, from a community psychology point of view, not the president, my thinking on that is that because society is not becoming generous enough to accept difference, we are now using labels to have to identify people because they don't fit in. So that scares me, because I think folks who have been different have always been here. And if we can, that's why I want universal design.
Sure.
That's why we're hiring a psychologist, and Darcy's helping lead the charge, because I want to avoid the label. So, and it's important, but to tell you, it really scares me in terms of what is society saying, that we have to label difference if we want to be able to help them. That's fine, but the way we're going to roll, Linda, particularly, thank you for that advice, particularly for our students, because we have many students, and I call myself a nerd, who are nerds.
Yes.
And when we talked to RPI about that, they're like, they're everywhere here. How are you guys working with them? We're building it into our classrooms and academic plans of how we work with students. And I love the way they're doing it. They got excited because there's no other institution they can talk to like that when we say, we have a lot of nerds here. And we saw that last year at Temple Grandin, right? We have really, really cool students here. And I think our job is, and I think you're saying that, is to make sure they have good access to how we teach.
Sure.
So just to say, I know, but it really scares me as a community psychologist.
Being different can be difficult, and it isn't always that you're on the spectrum.
That's right. And we have a motto in our accessibility resource office, disable the label.
Good.
Okay, and so that's one that we commonly use. And we embrace the diversity that exists on our campus.
Glad to hear you use the word.
Okay, this might not be the moment to go into a long conversation about this, but labeling my daughter has opened up the world for her. So it depends on.
It depends.
the context.
It so depends, and I agree with that. I think I'm talking from a more value community level that, we have to go there so that they get the needs and supports they require. And I agree with that. I want to make sure our institution has access where it's not so special that they're just apart.
It's true, but it does cost more to support people.
Absolutely does.
And
Sure.
if the federal government's gonna help, then,
I don't think,
Yeah.
And you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, you're right. What a fabulous conversation to have, right? And we can go more into what we're thinking when we get the psychologists and the learning specialists and universal design. But thank you. I so appreciate that. And that's how complicated it is.
absolutely.
I just don't like when we have to label for you to get the resources. But that's me.
Yeah.
That's my community psychology. But boy, do I appreciate what you're saying.
We would like a brief executive session, but before we go into that, anything else for the council at this time? Next meeting will be a little shorter, but if there's anything you'd like particularly talked about, let us know and we'll put it on the agenda. And that meeting is May 7th with commencement May 10th. With that, a motion to go into executive session.
So
please.
moved.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
discussion. In favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everybody else who can go now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. The family, extended family, I am. I don't know, I knew myself when I read my